Hey everybody, your natural dog with Angela Ardolino, and my guest today is Bre Drake of Tailswell. She's a holistic pet health coach, and today we're going to talk all about water and hydration. It is so important. Water is the single most critical nutrient that our pets need, yet most of it is contaminated and 75% of it contains parasites. So it's really important that we get our dogs clean, structured water that does have naturally its nutrients that it needs, the minerals, so our pets get what they need. So stay tuned. It's all about water. We're even going to talk about what happens if they get into some bad water. So stay tuned. And we're back with Bre Drake, and today we're talking all things water. And I feel like water doesn't get the attention that it deserves. I know I learned about water late in life, didn't even think about it. But water is the single most critical nutrient for us and our pets. And I know it is often an afterthought, especially when it comes to our pets, where, we take the bowl, we dump it out, fill it up in the sink and put it back down. I know is a very common behavior. But guys, water in this country is so contaminated. There are over 320 contaminants found in our water, and 75% of our country's water contains parasites. So we really need to look at the water that we're giving our pets. And so that's what our episode is all about today. And I know, Bre, that you're the same way that I am about water. Like, when did you make the discovery of, oh my God, I have to do something about the water I'm giving my pets?
This is embarrassing to admit, but it was probably just 2 to 3 years ago that I realized this. And it's a huge deal. And you're right. It's overlooked by so many dog parents and so many humans. So many of us don't realize how important it is to have the proper filtration system on our water. And so many of us don't realize that a lot of the water we're buying in the store in a perfect little bottle is also not that safe. So yeah, it was just a few years ago for me.
I do remember learning in my late 20s that I thought that I could go into a grocery store, and I never thought what I could buy off of a grocery store shelf would possibly be toxic or poisonous and potentially kill me. Like, right? So it's like, just like we have to read the labels and the ingredients and the inactive ingredients in our supplements, we have to also do our homework on our water. And that means the water coming out of our faucets at home, the water that we drink, the water that we bathe in, the water that we use to clean, all of it is really important to look at that. And it's so funny because I was like, I don't remember growing up and water being that big of a deal. I grew up drinking out of the hose. And I can't even imagine doing that now. But I looked it up, and it literally said that, back in the 80s when I grew up, that there were about 85 contaminants found in water. And now there's 320 found, and 90 of them are not regulated by the EPA. Mm-hmm. That right there is like, so what are they? They're all of these forever chemicals, these pesticides. Glyphosate is now in everything. Like, glyphosate is found in rainwater. Glyphosate is found in umbilical cords of babies. It's everywhere now. So this is just one more thing that we can do to help protect our pets. I don't know if you're finding this, because I think you do coaching with pet parents?
I do, yes. And I do find that this information about filtering water is usually shocking to most dog parents and most pet parents. They've never thought about it. And just like with any small habit you're doing daily, anything that your dog's ingesting daily, if you can optimize that, it makes such a huge difference. So just switching the water, just figuring out what type of water system works best for where you live, and making that small change makes the biggest difference. Kind of like fresh food feeding. Same thing. So yeah, right. I run into that all the time where dog parents are completely unaware. I mean, I was one of those parents just a few years ago.
So was I. And And I knew, so when I moved to my house in Tampa, I was on a well system, and it was the first time I was on well water. So I was like, okay, it already had a whole house system in it, but didn't have like stuff for drinking. So I was like, okay, what's the best system I could possibly get? So I got a reverse osmosis unit, and I thought, I got it. I did it. I'm good. I got the best water. Tasted great. The dogs loved it. And then it wasn't until Nina got osteosarcoma that, again, when Nina got that diagnosis, and I think that this is why I'm so going down this rabbit hole of everything that we're putting inside our bodies and our pets' bodies makes a difference. And so let's look at it, because I have so many pet parents, and I think the same thing's probably happening to you, where they're coming to us and they're feeding the right food. You know, they've learned so much about holistic and natural raising of their pet, but their pets still aren't at homeostasis. Something is still off. And I can always link it to something. And a lot of times it's ingredients or inactive ingredients that are found in that food, that raw food or that real food or the dehydrated or freeze-dried food that has been added, or an inactive ingredient in their supplement, or the water. So when I went down that deep dive of, okay, Nina's got cancer, right? What do I do now? Let me make sure I am doing everything that I could possibly do to help this dog live as long as she can with this cancer diagnosis. And when I went to water, sure, I cleaned my water so well. When you do reverse osmosis, you're also removing all of the good stuff out of the water. So you basically have dead water, unstructured water that is no longer this vibrant, living thing that hydrates us and that makes us, we're 70% water. So are our pets. So we want that to be structured water filled with the essential minerals. So I learned how to put those back in after, the reverse osmosis took them all back. How do you filter your water? Like, when did you learn that lesson, or did you know it from the beginning?
Yeah, no, I had a similar experience. So, both of my Goldens last year were diagnosed with cancer, and unfortunately I lost them. But it was definitely through a journey of helping them and supporting their health that I learned that we needed to do something more about our water. So we too installed a reverse osmosis system. And for probably, 5-6 months, we weren't remineralizing it. I had no idea, just like you. I mean, I didn't realize it stripped out everything, and that we still needed to add minerals back in. And fortunately, we're still getting some good structured water from our foods. But it was horrible that we were drinking all this water that was completely dead. So that is something I know that most don't understand either. And it's completely foreign concept. Yeah, we recently moved to a house where we have a well system as well. So we just went through that whole, had the water tested and sent it off, got the results back. So that's what I typically tell people on the well system, get the water tested, figure out what's in it, figure out what kind of system is best going to support that. And there are great resources for showing you what system is going to work best, depending on what contaminants are found.
And what contaminants were found in your water?
Yeah, a little bit of lead, some fluoride, but overall pretty good. No bacteria, no E. coli or anything. But the well water was mostly heavy metals and fluoride. So we don't want that in there.
Wow.
And then our city tap water, there's that resource, ewg.org/tap water, where you can go in and see what's in your city water for free. And it is terrifying.
It is terrifying. I even looked up, I know every time I go to New York City or Colorado, they're like, our water's the best. I was like, oh, let me look up Colorado and New York City. And it's like, okay, it is better, but it's not clean. No water is clean unless it has been filtered. And then what people need to understand is that when they clean the water, they clean it with chemicals that are dangerous for us to consume. So we have to filter those off. Now, also keep in mind that these pesticides and herbicides that they're using, including glyphosate, they do not break down. Pharmaceutical drugs that get flushed down the toilet and end up in our water system. Those chemicals they use to clean them, they don't break down and go away. And often they're not testing for those things. So you have to filter your water. So it wasn't until Nina got sick that I did the deep dive even deeper and found out that I also was not remineralizing my water, and ended up getting a unit to do that and make my water structured and put hydrogen in it. And it was so funny because then it was like custom made for us and everything. And then we sold the house, and the guy was so nice. He recreated it to fit in the RV. So now it's in the RV.
Oh, good.
And that water, it was crazy, the difference. And I know my partner hates when I tell this story, especially on my podcast, but all we drink is water. We don't drink like maybe tea, coffee in the morning, maybe some tea throughout the day, but literally water all the time is all we drink. And at night, I would get up maybe one time during the night, maybe twice on a bad night to go get up to pee. But my partner would get up like 3, 4, 5 times a night. When we started drinking structured water, everyone slept through the night. It was amazing. Still happens to this day. And I was like, oh my gosh, what a difference that makes. And that is water just passing through versus your cells and your whole body really getting the hydration that we need. So this is happening to our pets. You know, are they getting good water? Is their water over filtered? So that's really what we wanted to talk about. And even though our dogs get the majority of their hydration in their food, a lot of people are feeding a kibble or freeze dried or dehydrated diet, and they need to add that moisture back in. How do you do? Do you add more water to your diets? What do you recommend?
So I feed my dog just a raw diet. So he gets a lot of moisture from his food, a lot of hydration from his food. And I will throw in some bone broth and some raw goat's milk on occasion. But he does great. He's not a big drinker from the bowl of water because he gets hydration the way nature intended, which is from the food. And I took a big deep dive into living water and structured water, and how, our animals and we're designed to derive hydration from food, and the living hydration, like the blood in organ meat and meat and raw meats, and the water and like watermelon, cucumber, zucchini, and fruits and vegetables, that is true living water that they're getting electrolytes from and enzymes from. And it's so powerful that they should be getting so much more from their food. And our poor kibble fed dogs, they're not getting anything at all. So they're living in almost a low grade chronic dehydration state. So it's important to me to feed a raw diet. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And those that are feeding that dry diet and then throwing the tap water on top is just like, we're not helping here. So add the watermelon or the cucumber or the fresh raw meat on top so that you can get it. And let's talk about the importance of making sure that meat is from an organic source, so that we know that the water and the food that the animal that you're feeding your animal was fed the right appropriate diet at the same time also. So like raw diets contain like 60 to 80% moisture. So that's why they're so perfect for that reason. And kibble has like none.
Yeah, like they say 10%, but it can't even be that.
No, they like remove it all. So, and the reason that they do that is so that it's more shelf stable. And this includes freeze dried. So remember, you have to put that liquid, that water, that hydration back into that freeze dried diet if you're feeding a freeze dried. Let's talk about why water is important. Like, I don't think people understand what it does in the body, but it's like so essential for cellular function. Carries oxygen, carries glucose, carries the vitamins, helps the liver and kidney flush out toxins.
We essentially cannot function without hydration. It's just impossible. It's probably the most important part of any diet, I guess is what you would call it. And it supports everything from the joints to nervous system, detox. All of that is especially important in today's toxic world where they're already so overburdened. And that's what it comes down to also, is people might be like, oh, well, they drink from puddles or from ponds and they're fine. They drink all this dirty water. But the problem is, although some of these contaminants might be at micro levels or safe levels. It's just the accumulation over time. And because of what we're feeding our dogs, and they're getting hit with vaccinations, multiple times throughout the year, meds, it's just we're layering all this in on top. And it's just, we have to do everything we can to minimize. So
I love that you brought up that point, because so many people are shocked when we say, give them the statistic that 1 in 4 dogs will get cancer, and people don't understand why. And I'm like, that is why. It's in their food, it's in the water, it's in all of their products, their grooming products, the medications, and it's a toxic overload to their systems. Their liver has to process every foreign chemical that comes into contact with their body or goes in their body. So their livers are working nonstop trying to do something with these chemicals. And that's why I try to keep them out of your supplements. 85% of supplements worldwide are ineffective and oftentimes cause damage because they're putting synthetic vitamins and minerals in the dog's food and their supplements. It's terrible. So as pet parents, we have to read those labels. We have to look at everything that we're putting in us and on us, because guess what, guys? Same thing when we're bathing or taking a shower. If we're doing it in contaminated, unfiltered water, it's being absorbed into the skin. They are just like us. So it matters what goes on their skin. So that means we also have to read the labels of the shampoos and the groom sprays and everything that goes on or in them, because it makes a big difference.
Yeah, it may seem like overkill. I know people roll their eyes when you say those kinds of things, and you talk about how there's toxins and synthetics and just about every product out there nowadays. And people roll their eyes and they think, oh, that's not such a big deal. Oh, we'll just use this for now. We'll use this in moderation. But it really all adds up. And it's really disappointing to see what kinds of products are out there being marketed to pet parents. It breaks my heart because the marketing is so good and they just want to do good by their pets, and they're just getting ripped off. They're, like you said, they're almost making the problem worse by buying some of these products and giving it to their pets. So
yeah, it's just like I said in the beginning about the grocery store, thinking I could go into a grocery store and buy anything. That's humans. These toxins are in human products, and pets are considered property. So that means it's 10 times worse. If we have a bad player, and we have so many bad players, especially those operating in the natural and holistic realm and pretending to be those things, and they're not, they're greenwashing and just pretending to be. They may have an ingredient that's natural, but they've put in 3 or 4 inactive ingredients that are added additives that are not needed. And people think they're no big deal because it says inactive, but the inactive means they have no benefit. They don't do anything when we take them, except they do have a side effect and a consequence because the body has to metabolize and digest and do something with them. That means you're making the body overwork. And if that additive happens to have a chemical component to it, it's going to disrupt the gut. It's going to tax the liver and the kidneys one way or another. Whether the liver knows to get rid of it and eliminate it in the body, and if it doesn't, it's going to store it in the fatty tissues. So these things do not need to be in our food and supplements or in our water. Fluoride does not need to be in our water. It's a neurotoxin. Stop putting it in our water, damn it. So it's, I want you guys to understand also it can't be in plastic.
Yeah, and most of your bottled water in plastic is actually just tap water with a pretty label on it. It is not any safer. And then you're adding the microplastics on top of that and everything that comes with the, what happens when something is heated in plastic. Like you're making it worse. So I hear from a lot of people that I work with that their vet said, oh, let's just give your dog bottled water. They're having some kind of urinary tract issue. And it's like, that is probably the worst thing you can do is give them a bottled water. And there's no real testing or like proof of sourcing needed for a lot of these bottled water companies either, which is scary. I know some of the bigger ones are truly just tap water in a bottle with a few minerals added for taste. And that's just awful because people really buy into the fact that they're getting a safer, higher quality water by buying it in a bottle. And I think there are some glass bottled companies out there that, if they are transparent about their sourcing and are truly spring fed, there are some good ones out there in glass, but bottled water, absolutely not the safer alternative. And then it's just harsher on our environment too. So I definitely think it is a much clearer, better choice to make a one-time investment on either a countertop or under the counter or a whole house water system versus buying bottled water that's not doing you or your pet any good.
It is not. Get rid of as much plastic as you possibly can. Make sure there's no plastic bowls, no plastic storage containers, and plastic water bottles are the very worst. They're in the worst type of plastic possible. They sit in hot warehouses. They sit in hot trucks. And by the time you've gotten them, they've literally been in a soft plastic, hot plastic bottle this whole time. So just don't do it. I've been living on the road for almost 2 years now, so we don't trust any water. When we're in the Airstream, we have the water system, but when we are staying at an Airbnb or even a hotel, we bring our own water. So there's literally water places where you can go get a safe jug. Well, you can have water delivered also, right? You can have one of those water services that come bring water. But we literally go to these places and fill up our own water to get clean, structured water so that we have it even when we're in a hotel room or an Airbnb. That's how crazy we are. Showers. You can get shower filters for your water for your shower heads to wash your dogs, or your bathtub to wash your dogs. Every little step or point you make to keep those contaminants off and out of them help.
We have a whole house filter now. Since we have the well system, we have different layers. So we do have filtered water that we shower in, which is good. Yeah, it gets scary when you get too aware of everything. It makes you kind of panicky, especially when it comes to water. I totally get it. But you raised a good point. I bring water from my home in a stainless steel bottle if I take my dog anywhere. And I will absolutely refuse any water they try to bring me at restaurants, treats too, on a separate note. But yeah, it's important. Ugh. It is so important. You look like a crazy person, but we have to be that way. We just have to.
All right, we're going to talk a little bit about our dogs playing and drinking out of rivers and streams and bodies of water. And it's almost like when I go out with my dogs on a hike, I'm always thinking to myself, gosh, I'd really love them to drink out of a clean stream. And I let them. I make sure that stream is flowing, it's clear, it doesn't have any algae growth in it, there's not any warnings. I actually check the area. There's actually websites that you can go to check water quality in your area. So I often do that if I'm going to go on a hike and I know I'm going to go on a stream. But I mean, there are times when I've turned around and seen one of my dogs drinking out a nasty puddle of water and been concerned. And that's why we always want to support their immune system, because this is how we make sure that if they do come across something, we're giving them the best chance possible to fight against those contaminants or those viruses or bacteria that they may come across. So that's why supporting their immune system is always important. And then if I do have a scare like that, I'm going to, take the proper precautions and treat it. So I always make sure that I have my dogs safe and prepared, whether there be their body. And these types of things, like, it sounds like a lot. Like, you want me to read the ingredients. You want me to structure their water. You want me to do all these things. Well, I'm telling you that these sounds like a lot, but when you start doing them, what you're doing is you're, instead of going to the veterinarian because you're having issues all the time, you don't have to go to the veterinarian anymore, because you're doing everything you can to prevent issues and problems from happening. So I've got Jolene and Mazza now, my last two geriatric. I can't believe they're considered geriatric age, because they certainly don't act like it. And I'm doing everything I possibly can to keep them from having to go to the veterinarian. Same thing for myself. Like, the worst thing I could possibly think of is having to go to the hospital or to a doctor. I want to know myself how to take care of everything so that I can prevent going. So that's why I do this, and I hope that you guys pick up on some things, and it seems like a lot, but it really isn't when you start really looking into everything you put into yourself and into your pet's body. But if they do come across something a toxic exposure, or you're worried they drank something bad, activated charcoal is amazing for binding to those toxins and removing them from the body. Milk thistle to help support the liver to detoxify the toxins out. Dandelion, silver hydrosol, DE, diatomaceous earth, also incredible for binding and removing any types of toxins and bacterias out. And then, of course, for immune support, full spectrum hemp extract, medicinal mushroom extracts are amazing. But it's tough out there. It's a contaminated world, but we can support our bodies and our pets' bodies to help them detoxify and fight off some of these contaminants so that it doesn't harm them. We are offering a download water safety and emergency response checklist in case your dog does get exposed to a bad body of water, whether they drink it or get inside it. And also some tips, a list kind of what me and Bre talked about, some of the filters and remineralization in case you do have that reverse osmosis. But thank you so much for tuning in today, and we will see you next time on Your Natural Dog. Please like and subscribe. Thanks.
Thanks for listening to today's episode. Please make sure to leave us a review wherever you're listening from. This is the best way to help pet parents like you find these episodes and get access to all our content. Follow me on Facebook and Instagram at Your Natural Dog and at angelaardolino.com.